Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, somehow or other, the environment knew that we are going to discuss about the mind. So they created a different setting for us to deal with the mind, right? So it's a different thing for me also to give like this, right? So nonetheless, that is how the mind functions. Gets used to with one particular thing and it becomes very difficult to get into the another thing. Right? So does anybody remember what did we discuss last time? A very difficult question. Yes. What we discussed was concentration on God. Is the only way through which mind can see God as a. And there are various ways of doing it, like having substance, chanting the name of the Lord, and discussing the details and the pastimes of God. Right. So, through which by concentration on God, anybody gets the highest happiness. Yes. In his life. Yes. And then you narrate the story of Vidyananji, Gaunanji, and Thakurji. Once even the Nivedya both were not in our place, but then we saw they were dancing with devotees. That they gave, also he was blessed, he was blessed by it. Yes. Very nice. Thank you. Very happy that you are remembering this. Loridas Pandit's very nice narrations that we had about all the time, who had some deities and wonderful. Okay. So far we see we are which chapter we are in? Sixth chapter entitled Dhyana Yoga. Right? In other words, we say it Astanga Yoga or Hatha Yoga. So now, so far we have covered in verse number 32. In that, Krishna has explained the entire process of Astanga Yoga. ये अष्टांग योगा क्या है, उसमें क्या क्या नियम है, वो सब उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया, राइट? अभी एक्सप्लेन करने के बाद कृष्णा फर्दर एक्सप्लेन्स की जो अष्टांग योगा में एडवांस स्टेज पे पहुंच जाता है. Once who reaches the advanced stage, what will be their symptoms? How do they behave? And what are their consciousness? Right? So some of these things Krishna explained that they see the pebble and the gold on the same. Friend and the enemy as the same. Right? So those, like, they are called it yoga ruda. Means the highest stages of perfection of yoga. Right? So those are the symptoms explained by Krishna. Till verse number 32. Now, this is not the monologue. This was a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Right? So now Arjuna, after hearing all this, Arjuna asked a question. So that is what we are going to discuss today. Then what is the question? So you can repeat after me. Everybody can get to the verse number 33, 6.33. Arjuna Uvacha. योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्ता साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वस्थितिं स्थिरम्. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me. For the mind is restless and unsteady. No, no, we are not going to read the purport now. So because we're going to cover till verse number 36. So I'll just highlight the few points of this and then we'll have some discussion on that. Yeah, otherwise it will take a lot of time. Okay. So first of all, Prabhupada points out one beautiful point in the purport. Prabhupada says the present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for life of short duration. People are not serious about self realization, even by simple practical means. So, first of all, let's understand what Arjuna is asking a question, right? So, now one may wonder that Arjuna was such a bold person, right? Supreme Personality of Godhead is giving him the teachings, उनको बता रहे हैं कि क्या है और वो क्या बोल रहे हैं भगवान को आपने जो अभी नॉलेज बताया इट साउंड्स वेरी इम्प्रैक्टिकल एंड अनएंड्योरेबल मतलब कोई मतलब नहीं होता ये करने का ये एज में वो भगवान को बता रहे हैं क्यों बता रहे हैं क्यों बता रहे हैं कि ये बहुत ही इम्प्रैक्टिकल है ये योग करना
Mind is restless.
what he says mind is very restless and unsteady, right? That is why he's saying that it is very very difficult because if you see in this chapter what Krishna talked about, most of the time Krishna talked about is you have to control your mind, you have to focus your mind, right? What one has to do in order to perform this Ashtanga yoga? How one performs the Ashtanga yoga? What that person has to do? He has to go to the forest. Yes or no? Go to the forest, secluded place, right? So there are no distractions. वहाँ पे जाके अपना आसन बनाना है, वहाँ पे बैठना है, right? और सिर्फ मेडिटेट करना है. बोलते हैं तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. हम लोग यहाँ पे एक राउंड करने को बोलते हैं तो भी तकलीफ होता है सबको, right? What to speak of entire day, not just day, weeks, months, right? पूरी सेम नाइट में क्या करेंगे जंगल पे डर लगता है. It is a fact. You know, even I remember we had all friends had gone to while I was in college. We had gone to the down forest with about 7-8 friends. And in the night, of course, it was a very adventurous trip. And we night okay, we were not planned where we were going to stay, right? And suddenly we were wondering because somebody says यहाँ पे wild animals रात में ज़्यादा घूमते हैं दिन से ज़्यादा. And then we found some place on the Machar or something. And we were wondering कि हम लोग क्या हो गया we were thought कि हम लोग कॉफी बनाएंगे ये करेंगे वो करेंगे and nobody had a courage to get down and do anything in the night, right? So Arjuna says it's very impractical, right? And Prabhupada in the purport, very interestingly, what Prabhupada says that this age of Kali, right, is characterized by a bitter struggle. Can you imagine this age is characterized as a bitter struggle for life of short duration? How many of you feel that this life is a short duration? You all feel time is flying?
Yes.
We want time to stop, right? Or maybe most of us may feel, let's go back in the time. Right? So it is a very, very short duration, right? And after that, he's saying a very interesting thing. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system. इतना सिंपल चीज हम लोग बोल रहे हैं लोगों को कि आ जाओ यहाँ पे एवरी सैटरडे देसर में शाम 7 बजे. अगर आप यहाँ पे नहीं आ सकते हो तो आप जूम पे ज्वाइन कीजिए अपने घर में बैठे बैठे अपने लिविंग रूम में या अपने बेडरूम में आराम करते करते आप अपना जूम चालू कर दीजिए मोबाइल में. फिर भी नहीं हो रहा. आज कितने लोग हैं जूम पे? 1 2 3 मे भी उतने भी नहीं है शायद, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट वी हैव. It is very, very difficult, right? In this age of Kali, self-realization process is so difficult. But if you just make a billboard and there will be a Navratri, no, my God, people will struggle to get pass. कैसे मेरे को pass मिल जाएगा? Right? Is there anybody struggling to come here? मुझे please आगे तो दे सकते हो. I want to come and hear Bhagavad Gita. Please allow me. No, there is no such thing. Why is it like that? Because in this age of Kali, we are always trying to find happiness in something else. Right? And now we will discuss three more verses and then we'll have some interesting discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam about one interesting personality that Krishna himself narrates to Uddhavji. Okay? And we'll see. And if we study that particular thing very thoroughly, then I guarantee all of you that none of you will have ever distress in your life. You will never have any despondency in your life. You will never be depressed in your life. You will always be joyful. Okay. So we'll get to that. But before that, let's see what Arjuna further has to say. Right. So after Arjuna said it is impractical and unendurable, what further Arjuna says? You can repeat after me. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavatridam tasyaham nigraham manye ayor ivasu dushkuram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So, in purport, Srila Prabhupada says few things, but before that, let's talk about this characteristics of mind. It is said it is more difficult than controlling the wind. What does that mean? That means Arjuna was able to control the wind. Can you imagine? And how these winds used to come, and they were able to produce a wind also through the Shastras. Right? So if they send the Vayu Astra, then Samne wala jo hai, if it is really like very expert, then they bring out that Parvata Astra. That means अगर wind आ रहा है तो उसको stop करने के लिए क्या लगेगा आपको पर्वत लगेगा. You need a mountain to stop it. Right? So there are ways and means by which Arjuna was saying that I could able to control the wind. But Arjuna himself is saying, but Krishna, for me, to control the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. It is not possible. How many of you feel the same? Is it only Arjuna who is feeling? All of us feel, right? हमारे इस पर wind भी नहीं हो रहा है. We saw nowadays, right? There's a whole thing that happened and how this is nothing, I would say it's just not even a trailer, right? Not even a 5% of it, what actually the storm, other things that happens at the other coastal areas. And you are feeling really scared that, so many trees fell down and things like that. So what is that is difficult with the wind, right? So what does the wind was doing when it was blowing? It was creating the damage, yes or no? Right? So now why it was creating the damage? Because it was uncontrolled wind. Right? We were not able to control the wind, so it created the damage. Similarly, if mind is going at a speed higher than the wind, then don't you think it will also create the damage? Yeah, it will create a lot of damage. It is said the mind is the one which makes the hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. Right? So Prabhupada writes a beautiful purport, and Prabhupada brings out a few points that we will discuss. Prabhupada says, intelligence is supposed to direct the mind. But the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. What a beautiful example Srila Prabhupada gives. Right? Now, just imagine First of all, let's understand this whole thing, whole body as a chariot, so that you'll be able to connect the dots. How many senses we have? Five senses, right? Five senses are nothing but the five horses. So visualize this. You know, there are five horses. I think we have it here. So there are five horses, right? In these five horses, what is this line that you see? It's a rein, right? What is that? It is
Mind.
it is mind. Who is controlling the rein? The chariot driver. Chariot driver is intelligence. Okay. And who is sitting the passenger is the soul. Okay. So now, in this analogy, the five senses are controlled by the mind. Mind is controlled by the intelligence. Right. So now let's say if your rein are not in control of the chariot driver, as what it is explained here, that at times intelligence is overpowered by mind. Can you imagine this situation? What does that mean in this analogy of chariot?
Controlling the chariot. Chariot. Senses are overpowering.
No.
Mind is directing intelligence. Help us fulfill the sense.
Uh, so in this case, what will happen? Let's say mind is what? The rein. लगाम जिसको बोलते हैं, right? Horses are the senses, right? And the intelligence is the one who is the chariot driver, जो रेन को संभाल रहा है. अभी हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि रेन जो है, जो लगाम है, वो चैरियट ड्राइवर को संभाल रहा है. तो क्या होगा बताओ?
It will suppress intelligence and get swayed towards the senses without controlling them, because as per the mind's requirements. So intelligence won't be able to control the reins will control the movement of the senses. They suppress.
So rein to anyways controlling the movement of the senses. So reins are anyways controlling the horses. Understand this analogy, very important. Okay.
The horses,
Now,
horses are directly controlling the chariot driver. As
no, horses are not controlling the chariot driver. Reins, again, listen this very carefully. Five horses are the senses. Reins is the mind. Chariot driver is the one who is managing the reins, is intelligence. And the soul is a driver. Soul is a passenger in the chariot. What I'm saying now, ideally what happens? The chariot driver manages the reins. Chariot driver जो है वो लगाम संभालता है. ठीक है, अभी हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? यहाँ पे प्रभुपाद बता रहे हैं कि लगाम किसको संभाल रहा है अभी? हाँ, तो इसका मतलब क्या होगा इसमें?
Ultimately, senses are influencing the intelligence.
So ultimately what will happen is because it is rain, we are not able to visualize it. Okay, from the example perspective. But just imagine that, assume that लगाम जो है उसके पास consciousness है, समझो. तो लगाम क्या कर रहा है? Instead of a driver telling where to go, लगाम is telling driver take me there. You're getting the point? इंटेलिजेंस क्या करना चाहिए? लगाम उस तरह से उसको मैन्यूवर करना चाहिए ताकि उस डेस्टिनेशन पे पहुंचे घोड़ा, राइट? उसकी जगह पे क्या हो रहा है? लगाम ड्राइवर को इन्फ्लुएंस कर रहा है, बोला नहीं इधर नहीं उधर जाएंगे, और ड्राइवर क्या करे? ठीक है, then driver manages that way the horses to go there, right? So that is how the things are happening. Exactly. So that is what the next thing that Srila Prabhupada writes in that. What it is saying, now hear this very carefully. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, right? But what is happening? But the mind is so strong and obstinate. Obstinate means what? Stubborn. सुनेगा ही नहीं किसी का. Very stubborn. Huh? That it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. मतलब वो इंटेलिजेंस का सुपीरियर हो गया, इंटेलिजेंस उसका सबऑर्डिनेट हो गया. समझ रहे हो आप? That is why it is very very important to understand what it means. So अभी एक बात बताओ मुझे, अभी if mind is superior to intelligence in our case, then what will happen?
You are speed.
Huh?
You are speed.
Devastation. That is the ultimate result. Okay. But any example somebody would like to give? What happens in that case?
So many times we feel that oh मुझे नहीं करना चाहिए था मेरे से हो गया. So that's why your vivek, I mean intelligence was not a primary but mind forward. So many times for addiction also people say अरे मुझे नहीं करना but then हो जाता है and so mind forces you and so senses and so you also go and you take whatever like whatever. So
Yeah.
that time your intelligence is gone and the mind has overpowered it.
So the mind, what it will do? See, this is very, very dangerous thing. If you understand this point, huh?
It's not justifying your.
Say, "हाँ, it's okay. Last
Try to understand this one is a very, very critical point. Okay? And that is where you will understand कि it requires to control the mind. सबसे पहले ये समझना पड़ेगा कि mind control क्यों बोल रहे हैं? बोला ये क्या mind control लगा के रखा है यार? जियो ना शांति से यार, तुम भी शांति से जियो, मुझे भी जीने दो यार, क्या mind control? Mind अच्छे से मेरा, I have a very mental. Don't tell me that I am mentally I have a problem. Okay? My mind is very nice. No. If your mind is not in your control means what? Your intelligence is subordinate to mind means what? That mind will dictate the intelligence that whatever it wants, intelligence will be created that way. Now classic case, अभी जो लोहगढ़ में हो गया, that is a classic case of mind overpowered the intelligence. Like that, there are hundreds and thousands of cases. It can happen with us also. It is happening with us even at this moment. Because our mind is subordinate not to the intelligence, but intelligence is subordinate to the mind. So mind को जो अच्छा लगता है वो उसी हिसाब से उसका intelligence. Can you imagine to murder somebody कितना intelligence लगता है? Right? वही intelligence people could have used in so many nice things, so many concrete things, so many constructive things, rather than the destructive things. Why so many destructive things are happening is because people are having their intelligence subdued under the mind. So it is a very, very dangerous thing. Because mind will tell you, yeah, you love this, you want to do this. Right? There was one dictator, he was being asked, what is that gives you the most enjoyment? You know what he said? It really shocked me. I said, it's really, I think it was Stalin or somebody, if I'm not mistaken. He said that I call a person who trusts me the most. उसको मैं बुलाता हूँ, and then I take out my gun and I shoot him. And when he is dying, I want to see the expression on his face, and that gives me a lot of enjoyment. क्योंकि वो क्या सोच रहे कि अरे ये मेरे को ट्रस्ट करा था, अभी देखो मैंने इसको मार दिया, तो अभी उसके उसके इसमें ऐसा क्या हो रहा है, उसके मुंह पे एक्सप्रेशन देखने को मुझे मजा आता है. So this is nothing but same thing. Your mind is overpowering the intelligence. How many anonymous? Are you aware of anonymous? Something called anonymous. What does that mean? Anonymous means we are all addicted to it. Something we are addicted to it, right? And they created a group. There is something called Alcoholic Anonymous. That means what? People who are addicted to alcohol, they come together, they have that organization, and they are all in process of giving up the alcohol because it has destroyed their life and they want to get out of it. Right? So that is called anonymous. Right? So I was searching how many types of anonymous are there. There are hundreds of types of anonymous are there. For overeating से लेके, sex से लेके, shopping से लेके, anything you name it. People are getting addicted to those things. They have no control over it. ये जो नशे का चीज है वो तो एक अलग ही बात है. उसके अलावा भी लोग people are getting addicted to it. It actually happened once that person was, I think it was a lady who had gone to, she was passing to one of the, sari shop, And one day she enters that sari shop, and then she says, "I like that particular sari. Can you? I want to buy that one." Right. So that fellow says, like, I have exactly the same piece which is available on the shelf that I want to keep it. That is here. So नहीं नहीं मेरे को वही चाहिए. अभी कस्टमर तो किंग है, राइट? तो उसने वो निकाल के जो भी डिस्प्ले पे पड़ा था पीस उसको निकाल के लेके व्हाट एवर दैट मैनिक्विन और व्हाट एवर यू कॉल इट, राइट? दैट व्हाट वाज वेयरिंग, तो उसको निकाल के उसको पैक करके दिया. एंड व्हाइल पैक करके दिया तभी तो शी सेज आई डोंट हैव द मनी टू बाय दिस. एंड दिस पर्सन गॉट आउटरेज. व्हाट द हेल इज दिस? अगर आपको नहीं चाहिए था तो पहले ही मना कर देते थे. ये पूरा वो पुतले से निकाल के ये सब करवा के सब हजामत क्यों करवाए मेरे से? बोलता कि every day I was passing through this and I had this saree was disturbing me so much because I don't have a capacity to buy, but I couldn't resist to see this. I wanted to get off. उधर से हटाने का था मेरे को. There no other option but to do this, right? So you cannot imagine what people can go through in terms of the mind can keep us trouble like anything. सब कुछ ठीक रहेगा. एवरीवन इज लाइकिंग योर इंस्टाग्राम और यूट्यूब या जो भी है, उसमें से किसी ने अगर एक जन ने डिसलाइक दे दिया, then you wonder, अरे यार क्या हो गया? Why that person did not like it? What was wrong with it? इतना अच्छा तो था. So your mind can give you so much of trouble, right? The biggest example comes in the Shastra is Hiranyakashipu. Now Hiranyakashipu, मतलब आज का कोई भी व्यक्ति उसके सामने मच्छर के समान है. द मोस्ट रिचेस्ट पर्सन और द मोस्ट फेमस पर्सन या कोई भी आप ले लो, compared to the power, compared to the wealth, and compared to the things that this person was possessing, Hiranyakashipu, what we see today is nothing but a mosquito in front of that. He literally had all these demigods lying on his सिंहासन पे जाने से पहले वो लोग they have to lie down and this person was to put his feet on their head and used to climb the सिंहासन. और वो उसके पास उतना पैसा था कि एसी नहीं रखता था. वो सिर्फ अपना आईब्रोज रेस्ट करता था और जो भी इंचार्ज है वेदर का उसको समझ में आ जाता था कि ये टेम्परेचर सेट करने का इनके एंटायर सिटी के लिए. इट इज नॉट दैट जस्ट वन हाउस. If we decide that now it should be like 20 degree for my entire city, it will be 20 degree. Now we decide we feel like this. I want to experience some heat. Okay, 35. So it's not some remote intelligence or things like that. Also remote. Okay, the demigods is to manage that entire thing. That is what his power was. Okay, and he had all the wealth of not this planet but all the 3 planets. That wealthy he was. But he was disturbed by what his son Prahlad was not demon conscious. He was Krishna conscious.
5 years.
Only 5 years old. Right? कोई भी बोलता है ठीक है बच्चा है बड़ा हो गया समझ जाएगा यार क्या फर्क पड़ता है. Right? But that 5-year-old boy gave this guy sleepless nights. अभी उसके पास सब कुछ है. Can you imagine? He can have other kids also from so many other रानियां. कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. पोलीगामी बदला हो that time. Right? कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसको.
He had
He had
4 sons.
4 sons. देखो. But ये बच्चा एक sleepless nights. So जो हमारे पास है ना उसको हम कभी देखते नहीं. Grass is always green on the other side. हमारे पास जो है उसको हम कभी भी देखेंगे नहीं. That is what the mind is all about. Mind is very much like child, say, right? But you know what is the problem with the mind? Child is innocent, but the mind is not. Okay? So it is. आप किसी भी बच्चे को देख लो, it cannot stay at one place. They have to do something or the other. तो इसीलिए अगर आपको even materially if you want to progress, forget spiritually. Even materially if you want to progress, you need to have a mind under your control. It is the people who are able to focus, they progress in their life. People who are not able to focus, they cannot progress in their life. Right? So there are enough examples that we can talk about. Anyone else would like to share any example on the mind that how it has created a havoc in somebody's life or even your own life?
School educated parents which
Yeah.
are justifying their act based
Yeah.
on religion which they understand or their mind will interpret their way.
Exactly. Right? They because that is how they have no intelligence practically. Again, if there is an intelligence which is above the mind, then they will question that why am I being taught like this? Right? Just because our scriptures talks about mind, you tell me which scripture talks about mind. Forget about false ego, that is a separate discussion only. Right? Nobody talks about that. Here we are talking about mind. So that is why when somebody present to us, right, that okay, this person is like this, so we say it's okay. And ultimately, that person is a human being because our intelligence tells us, right? अभी ये जो है वो तो एक उसका लेबल लगा हुआ है यार. But the person behind that is actually the child of God. The child of God. Can you imagine my God and your God? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Bhagavad Gita gives very profound thing. Any other example of mine?
Most of the American presidents,
Yeah.
that mind, they wanted to conquer all oil countries
Yes.
and have the control.
Yeah.
So see what has happened with Iran.
Exactly.
Today in hiding.
Yeah.
So all this mind was control,
Yes.
like other presidents, which basically they had the super power
Yeah.
in their mind.
Because they get a kick out of that, right? So mind is very, very difficult. Right now, also when we are sitting here, your mind is telling you, am I supposed to be here? क्यों आया मेरे को उधर वो करने का था अभी ठीक है अभी आ गया तो अब देखते हैं अभी आई होप जल्दी खत्म हो जाए आज फिर बाद में उधर भी जाना है नाउ कैन यू इमेजिन अभी सोचो आप जस्ट फॉर अ मिनट पॉज फॉर अ मिनट यू टेक अ पॉज क्लोज योर आईज एंड थिंक कैन आई नॉट बी प्रेजेंट हियर राइट नाउ सम ऑफ अस मे थिंक रे भगवद गीता तो मैंने पढ़ा है ठीक है अभी मेरे को मालूम है माइंड के बारे में इसके बाद ये आने वाला है ठीक है इट्स ओके राइट फिर देखते हैं क्या नेक्स्ट वीक में ये है वो है देयर सो मेनी थिंग्स गोइंग ऑन योर माइंड राइट नाउ बट इट इज सो डिफिकल्ट टू ब्रिंग योर माइंड बैक saying okay can I stay here right now can I just listen what is being talked about can I just see what is important right now right it is very very difficult right so now let us see what Krishna has to answer to this right and before that yeah we'll talk about it in the next one also so you can repeat after me what Krishna answers to this question. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
असंशयं महाबाहो
असंशयं महाबाहो
अनिर्निग्रहचलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय
अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय
वैराग्येन च गृह्यते.
वैराग्येन च गृह्यते.
Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind. But it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. So what Krishna is saying, first of all, it is like the communication 101, right? फिर अगर किसी ने कुछ आपको बोला है तो you have to rephrase, okay, I understood, yeah, it is difficult, right? It is acknowledging his difficulty, right? भगवान ऐसा नहीं बोला है वो क्या बकवास कर रहा है सब पॉसिबल है ये करो वो करो no he said yes what you are saying Arjuna is correct it is very very difficult to overcome mind it is very difficult to control the mind but it is possible how by practice and detachment so we'll discuss about these two aspects of practice and detachment so what practice means anybody knows one proverb on practice
Practice
makes very perfect.
man.
Yeah.
Practice before you preach.
Practice before you preach. Very good. Applies to me. That is very important, right? But sometimes you have to preach before practice because while preaching also one can practice, and we can put a disclaimer that I'm not a perfect being. I'm also practicing. But while practicing, if I can share this knowledge with all of you, it can help all of you and you can go even ahead of me. Right? It is really nice to see if somebody can do that. It will be a pleasure. And that is the wonderful thing that Srila Prabhupada always said that. But yeah, it is always important because many a times the people get disappointed where people say you're not walking your talk, right? Walk the talk, as they say. Right? So, but if a person is genuine enough and honest enough, that person can say that I have not reached this level, but I'm trying to share this, then it is acceptable by others as well, right? So, as Krishna is saying, by practice and detachment. So, I was just thinking before we get into the discussion of the practice and detachment, we have to understand that there are various levels of practice that can happen, right? Various level of detachment that can happen. But now here, Krishna is hinting to what kind of practice and what kind of detachment is very important, right? So can anyone would like to tell me what Krishna is, or let me put it this way. What is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita for you? आप भगवत गीता से क्या पाना चाहते हो?
How to lead a meaningful life.
To take
Lead a meaningful life,
better decisions.
better decisions,
Definitely being one with God.
one with God, okay? In purpose, not in yeah, because we can definitely cannot become God or one with God. Okay. Anyone else? Why are we reading or studying Bhagavad Gita? What are we trying to achieve from this? It's very important, right? We have to ask this question time and again. It's not that every day you ask this question, but at a regular interval, one has to ask this question that why am I studying Bhagavad Gita? What I'm trying to get out of this?
Mind.
Purify, okay.
Understand ourselves.
Understand ourselves, okay. Anyone else?
It is a faith and trust.
Faith and trust, okay. Many people say, oh, because it's a song of God, so I better hear, right? But what a song of God is to offer you. See, many people, why any book becomes a bestseller?
Relate. People can relate.
Relate to, they learn something, they gain something out of it, right? Like, the 7 habits. Oh, so the 7 habits, if I do it, then it will really help me to become a better person, more like, professional in my career, and I can go ahead in my career and things like that, right? How to win over influence and friends, right? So many different books that people read to gain something from this, right? So we are reading Bhagavad Gita. What we are going to gain from this? What will be the end result of it? It's not just leading your life, right? That is definitely there. But this book has a potential to offer you to come out of the cycle of birth and death. That is the most important understanding one should have. Otherwise, it will become any other normal book that you find in any shelf, bookshelf. Any other book on the bookshelf will cannot get you out of the cycle of birth and death. That is very, very important. If you do not understand that, then we are actually misunderstanding Bhagavad Gita and using it for a very lower purpose of it. I'm not saying that it is not going to say it will serve you. There are management gurus who refer to Bhagavad Gita as like the best management book. But is that what Bhagavad Gita has to offer? It's a byproduct. It is not the main offering of this book. The main offering of this book, if you study Bhagavad Gita, you will go beyond the bodily concept of life. That is what Arjuna was perplexed with. That is what we are all getting perplexed with because we are in the bodily conscious of life. That is why we are not able to take right decision. That is why we are suffering in this world, and that is why we are absolutely confused in this world, like Arjuna. That is what Bhagavad Gita has to offer, to help us go beyond the concept of the body, who we are, who are actually beings, right? So that is why if you understand what Bhagavad Gita has to offer is the five things. Bhagavad Gita explains who are you. Bhagavad Gita explains who is God. Bhagavad Gita explains what is the purpose of this material nature that you see all around, right? Bhagavad Gita explains what is karma. What are the activities? Everyone talks about karma. Krishna explains karma so detailed in Bhagavad Gita, right? And the most important thing is the influence of time, kala. These five things, if you understand, then you are liberated. You understand who you are. You are not this body. You understand who is supreme. What is your relationship with your supreme, right? Why this material world exists for me? What am I supposed to do? And what kind of karma I should be doing? And how time is affecting me. If you understand this, you are liberated. That is what Bhagavad Gita has to offer, right? It's not Mahafale, karma kiya ja phal ki ichha mat kar. That is there. So those are byproducts. We are not saying no to that.
The reason being there is a statement which we have heard wherein Krishna is saying to Arjuna that तुम्हारे समय से भी पहले था,
हाँ.
also there and तुम्हारे बाद भी रहेगा. You do your actions what you are supposed to.
Right.
Don't think about the fruits of the action, what will happen and what will not.
Right.
There is some statements.
Yeah. That's what karma kiya ja phal ki ichha mat rakh, right? That is what it is. But that is the byproduct. That is not the only knowledge. People say Bhagavad Gita matlab kya? Karma kiya ja phal ki ichha mat rakho. That is what Bhagavad Gita teaches. That is just the byproduct of it. It is not all in all thing. Bhagavad Gita teaches you first of all who you are. Bhagavad Gita teaches who is God, what is his prakriti, what is karma, what is time, and the relation amongst all these five elements that we're talking about. That is what Bhagavad Gita is teaching. It's not just giving you one thing, right? So now, practice can happen. Let's talk about what kind of the practice that can happen at the material level. It is said that anything that you want to become perfect at, you have to repeat that minimum 10,000 times. Minimum 10,000 times. So we see all these cricketers, tennis players, football, all these people. Why they do just one thing repeatedly? Because they wanted to become the expert at that particular thing. Let's say somebody wants to become an expert at cover drive. It's not एक mind में एक बार देखा और जाके. I think my sons were telling me it was quite interesting. I think some match was going on. The Bumrah was at the boundary line. Okay, he was doing the fielding at the boundary line, and somebody from the audience they said Bumrah, go take the wicket. You know what did Bumrah say? आ जाओ मैदान में डालो बॉल विकेट ले लो समझ में आएगा क्या क्या चीज है विकेट लेना हाँ You cannot imagine what sometimes a practice means. I was flabbergasted even a gully cricket. Okay, we had gone to जो अभी यहाँ मिरर के सामने रहता है मैदान वैसे I was in Surat and we had a match with ऐसे दो मोहल्ले के बीच में या तो उसमें मैच रखते हैं. Then we went to one of the ground and these people got somebody in their team. He came and first time I saw in this gully thing, right? That fellow, it was actually in the ground, right? That fellow hit 6 boundaries in 6 balls. And I was shocked, we were बोले भाई अभी बोल देते कि भाई पैसा ले लो मैच खत्म हो गई ये जब तक ये मैदान में है हमारा कुछ होने वाला नहीं है. So that means if somebody who has perfected how to hit the ball, they are really crazy. It's not हम लोग को लगता है जो वैभव सूर्यवंशी आके ऐसे ही हवा में घुमा रहा है बैट. It's not like that. It cannot happen every time like that. It requires a lot of practice that person has done. Okay, and अपने को ऐसा टीवी में देख के रहे उसको ऐसा करना चाहिए था. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ग्राउंड पे अब जितना घंटा मैच चलता है उतना घंटा खड़े भी नहीं रह सकते हम लोग. And we go and say that उसको ऐसे करना चाहिए था वैसे करना चाहिए था. अरे इतना बॉल पकड़ नहीं सकता है यार ये हो गया मैच हार गया. Practice. That practice what makes them to be selected in that ground and playing there. Right? So the practice is very, very important. So now practice के लिए मैंने क्या बोला 10,000 times one has to do it. Now, while doing this practice, why everybody cannot be Virat Kohli? Why everybody cannot be Sachin Tendulkar? Because people are not able to control their mind. सुबह 4 बजे उठ के 5 बजे उठ के कौन जाएगा शिवाजी पार्क और कौन 3 घंटा रगड़ेगा समर टाइम में दोपहर में कौन खेलेगा ठीक है अपन एसी में बैठ के टीवी देखते हैं राइट और उधर गए कभी कभी खेलने को एक आध दिन हो गया उससे नहीं बनोगे आप इवन इफ यू कितना उसके पीछे उसको रगड़ना पड़ता है उसके पीछे कितना उसको कंट्रोल करना पड़ता है माइंड पीपल बिकम लाइक ऑल दिस आईआईटी टॉपर्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स दे हैव टू कंट्रोल देयर माइंड एंड स्टडी एवरीवन एल्स से अरे यार धुरंधर है देखने जाते हैं यार वो बोलेगा भाई मेरे को इसमें धुरंधर बनने का है मेरे स्टडीज में राइट सो ही इज कंट्रोलिंग हिज माइंड एंड डूइंग दैट दिस इज ऑन द मटेरियल लेवल सो नाउ कैन यू इमेजिन व्हाट विल बी एट द स्पिरिचुअल लेवल राइट इट इज so difficult and what is vairagya detachment that is a translation of it right but what exactly vairagya means generally when vairagya comes to our mind what is that is one thing that comes to your mind vairagya means घर छोड़ दे बराबर है वैराग्य मतलब बोलते हैं ना कि वैरागी हो गया अभी तो ये तो रुकेगा नहीं इधर सो हमें क्या आता है छोड़ देना है सब कुछ दैट्स नॉट वैराग्य वैराग्य मीन्स व्हाट टू गिव अप द रॉन्ग एनवायरनमेंट एंड एक्सेप्ट द राइट एनवायरनमेंट जैसे अभी ये बच्चा पढ़ाई कर रहा है आईआईटी राइट तो व्हाट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर हिम rather than having the company of the students who are boozing, who are going after girls, who are going after movies and all those things. He has to find a company where people are very serious about their future and they want to become number one. He has to choose that. So what we have to do, he has to create the right environment. So Vaidakya means what? Giving up the bad environment and selecting the right environment. That is very, very important. Right? So that is what Krishna is saying, and here Prabhupada in the purports, there are few, not there are many lines I have noted down. It's quite interesting. He suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. The first and the foremost such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that what is that one thing which help you to control your mind? Right? What that practice and detachment that we're talking about is what practice one has to develop is about hearing about Krishna. Why hearing about Krishna is going to help you to this practice of hearing of Krishna if you do more often, right? And if you do more and more. Let me just give you some more lines so that you will get some understanding. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. By hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. The more one eats, now this is a very good example. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. जब भी हम लोग खाना खाते हैं, when you are hungry, when we eat, what happens? First of all, हमारा hunger तो subside होता ही है. At the same time, you get the strength also, right? The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from the material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind. Srila Prabhupada says, is an expert treatment for a mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This statement is the process of Krishna consciousness. So now, here it is said that you have to hear about Krishna. That practice will help you to control the mind. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll go through this story of Avanti Brahmana which I talked about, right? And then we'll come back to this particular point that how hearing about Krishna will actually subdue the mind. Okay. So how many of you have heard of something called Avantika Express? Avantika Express, you have heard? So same place. So this Brahmana was from the Avanti Desh. So same Avantika. Okay, so he's from the same province. So now who is telling this story to whom? Krishna is telling this story to Uddhav about the perfection of somebody's life. Now this Brahmana, for a change, how many of you been to a Satyanarayan Katha? All of you, right? How does the story start? एक एक गरीब ब्राह्मण ब्राह्मण एंड गरीब वो हैंड इन हैंड है कि नहीं एक गरीब ब्राह्मण था कभी भी ऐसा नहीं बोले कि एक ब्राह्मण था एक गरीब ब्राह्मण था राइट सो दैट प्रीफिक्स इज देयर बट यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं यहाँ पे उल्टा है बिकॉज कृष्णा इज टेलिंग द स्टोरी कृष्णा सेज देयर वाज अ रिच ब्राह्मण there was a rich Brahman staying in this Avanti province. अभी this Brahman रिच के साथ साथ क्या था एक और क्वालिटी उसके पास वो कंजूस भी उसके पास बहुत पैसा था कंजूस भी था he was lusty भी था कामी भी था और एंग्री भी बहुत हुआ करता था ओके तो अभी ऐसे आदमी के साथ जो रहता है तो उसके परिवारजनों का क्या होता है बहुत पैसा है बट फर्स्ट क्वालिटी क्या है उसका कंजूस है तो परिवारजनों का क्या होता है सफोकेशन इतना पैसा होने के बाद भी ये आदमी कुछ देता भी नहीं है खुद भी मजा नहीं करता हमको भी मजा नहीं करने देता है तो फायदा क्या है इसका हाँ तो सारे परिवारजन उसको गाली देते हैं सब बेकार है क्या आदमी है कुछ करता नहीं है ये तो शास्त्र ऐसा कहते हैं कि अगर आपके पास पैसा है बाय द विल ऑफ द प्रोविडेंस and if you're not using for the purpose of dharma and even for your sense enjoyment also for your काम it is called dharma artha kama moksha अगर आपके पास पैसा है और अगर आप उसको अपने परिवारजनों के लिए भी यूज नहीं करते हो धर्म के लिए भी यूज नहीं करते हो for that person the nark is waiting seriously shastra says for that person nark is waiting hell is waiting so if you have a lot of money please be charitable please help your family members also to have some fun and everything it is very very important that is what we can learn from this story
We help you out also.
It will help you out also. Right so definitely so what he was doing he was not giving the shares of his demigods also see when you have why we do charity and other things because when you have money you are supposed to give it to the pitras you are supposed to satisfy the demigods and things like that it is very very important right he was not doing that so what happened these people became angry and one fine day he started losing his wealth so practically he lost all his wealth सब कुछ उसका चला गया so in the meantime can you just bring up the verse because here the thing is going on so 11.23.42 in the meantime just bring it up so पूरा बर्बाद हो गया वो right so now what happens when as they said what is that I think nana vagano nathiyo something like that some huh नारे नाथाला so what does it mean that जब तक आपके पास पैसा है you will have praise and everything जैसे ही पैसा चला गया nobody will ask you anything right so similarly the same thing happened with this person practically when he started losing his wealth the government came to take away the money the neighbors came to take away the money the other people came to take away the money so practically this person was penniless उसके पास एक भी पैसा नहीं बचा so what happened all his relatives also left him his own wife children they also left him and this person was cursing his fortune Now imagine if something like this happens in your life, what will you think? If something like this happens in your life, you become bankrupt, your own swajanas, your own relatives, the blood relatives also leave you and they go. What will you? How will you feel? Any thoughts?
What has gone wrong?
थोड़ा कॉर्पस अलग सा लगता
Huh?
थोड़ा कॉर्पस अलग सा लगता
No matter what you do, if somebody wants to take away your money, you can't hold on to it. No matter what money, but very wonderful thing. भगवान ने मेरे साथ ऐसा क्यों किया? मैं तो इतना कुछ कर रहा था भगवान के लिए, मैं ही मिला क्या? बाजू वाला नहीं मिला, नहीं क्यों मिला? Right? So that is what we all think. But what this person thought? Of course, he was cursing his fortune in the beginning, and he was reflecting that, wow, everything is gone. There is nothing. Not a single thing left with me. Neither my money, nor my relatives, nor my sojourners. Nobody is with me. So he thought that this is an amazing mercy of the Lord on me.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? This Brahmana thought that this is an amazing mercy of the Lord. And then immediately what did he do? He accepted the sannyas. And he started traveling. As a sannyasi, what do you travel from village to village and city to city? So as he was traveling, he was very famous because he was a rich person, right? So people knew about him and people knew about his miserliness also, कि ये बड़ा कंजूस है, right? तो जब ये सन्यासी बन गया, तभी लोग उसके साथ दुर्व्यवहार करने लगे. वो गांव से गांव, सिटी से सिटी जाता था, तो तभी लोग उसका डंडा ले लेते थे. हाँ, कोई उसका कमंडलू ले लेता था. हाँ, कोई उसका कपड़ा छीन लेता था, कोई उसको झापड़ मार देता था, बोलते तू ढोंगी है, हमको मालूम है तू तो बड़ा कंजूस आदमी था, ये पैसा चला गया इसके लिए, नया पैसा बनाने के लिए तू ढोंग कर रहा है ये सब. और he used to maintain silence, so people used to provoke him to speak. और somehow or other if somebody did not know his past, तो क्या करते थे, उसको कुछ खाना दे देते थे. जब भी वो भिक्षा मांगने जाता था तो उसको कुछ खाना दे देते थे. तो पेट के नीचे अगर वो खाना खाने को बैठा, तो there were some rascals, they used to come and pass urine in his food. Can you imagine? Despite that also, and Krishna is narrating this, huh? Krishna is narrating to Uddhav ji. फिर भी this person was not getting provoked. He was not getting provoked. Like that, he was harassed. Like whichever the village he went, whichever the cities he went, he was harassed like anything. But he did not reacted. Now let us understand why he did not reacted. Okay, and that is what this verse number 11.23.42. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.23rd chapter, which is the song of Avanti Brahmana, in the verse number 42.
नायं जनो मे सुख दुःख हेतो न देवतात्मा गृह कर्म काल मनः परं कारणमा आमनन्ति संसार चक्रं परिवर्तयेत्य. The Brahmana said, these people are not the cause of my happiness and distress. Neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past work or time. Rather, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates the rotation of material life.
So read that again. This is a very, very important thing. And stop at each thing. Who is not the, see what he's saying, this Brahmana, who is not the cause of my suffering? And who is not the cause of my even happiness also? So now make the list. There are 6 things that he's saying this is not the cause of my happiness or distress. And I will ask every one of you or every one of us, how many of us feel that each one is the cause of our suffering or happiness?
These,
First.
these people are not the cause
So
of
first is, I'll ask you something, is people, right? How many times we feel, अरे रिक्शा वाले ने ऐसा कर दिया, मेरा पूरा दिन खराब कर दिया. मेरा अच्छा जा रहा था, उसने झगड़ा कर लिया मेरे साथ, क्या है, 2 रुपए छूटा नहीं तो उसमें क्या इतना मगजमारी करने का। बस में जा रहे हो, बस वाले ने दिमाग खराब कर दिया। सो व्हाट डू यू फील? ही इज द कॉज ऑफ माई। ऑफिस में गए, बॉस ने कुछ बोल दिया, अरे यार क्या मैं ही मिलता हूँ क्या, दो बाकी के लोग भी है ना, उसको पकाना, मेरे को क्यों पका रहे हैं भाई, जब देखो तब मुझे ही पकड़ के पकाते देते हो आप। बॉस इज द कॉज ऑफ माई सफरिंग। अगर हस्बैंड वाइफ के बीच में नहीं चल रहा है, वाइफ विल थिंक हस्बैंड इज द कॉज ऑफ माई सफरिंग, husband thinks the wife is the cause of my suffering. Sometimes they are having in the joint family, in-laws is my suffering, right? ये in-laws कभी जाएंगे? In-laws बोलते हैं कि हमारा तो अच्छा चल रहा था, ये तू आ गई इसकी वजह से सब गड़बड़ हो गया हमारे साथ। In-laws will feel she is the cause of the suffering of our house, right? She feels the in-laws are the suffering of the house. Everyone, so just see how the mind is putting the blame on whom for your cause and suffering or happiness. Other people. Right now, you have a beautiful child. So the child is a cause of my happiness. Right? The person doesn't have a child, he says that I don't have the child, that is the cause of the suffering. Right? So it is very easy for us to understand. But what this Brahmana is saying, people are not the cause of my suffering. We'll discuss how they are not. Okay, next.
Neither are the demigods.
Neither are the demigods. Right? How many times we feel शनि डर रहा है मेरे को? They are also demigods. बात है ग्रह का है. But the demigods are like, Indra and others and things like that, right? That is what is coming and that is what is causing me the suffering. Right? Next.
Third is my own body.
My own body. Right? How many of times we feel that my body is giving me so much of trouble? I wish I had a very handsome body, beautiful body, healthy body, right? Then I would be very happy. Isn't it? कितने को लगता है कि अगर मेरे पास हेल्दी बॉडी रहेगा तो आई बी हैप्पी, और इफ आई हैव अ मोस्ट ब्यूटीफुल बॉडी आई विल बी वेरी हैप्पी, मोस्ट हैंडसम बॉडी आई विल बी वेरी हैप्पी, राइट? सो गो एंड आस्क पीपल हु आर हैंडसम, हु आर ब्यूटीफुल, who are with a healthy body, are they happy? No. That means that is not the cause of the happiness or distress, right? That is what one has to understand. Next.
The planets.
The planets, right? Rahu is causing me the suffering, right? Shani is the 7.5 लग गया मेरा, इसकी वजह से मेरा हालत खराब हो गया. So let's talk about it. Is that actually causing me the suffering? Yes or no?
No.
क्या बात कर रहे हो? सब लोग अवंती ब्राह्मण के लेवल पे पहुंच गए, हंस के यात्री, क्या बात है?
Astrologer बरा.
हाँ, इसीलिए हम उनको बाद में भी पूछेंगे, पहले आप लोगों से पूछ लेते हैं. What do you think? People तो सबने हाँ बोला, ग्रह के बारे में क्यों आप इतना चिंता कर रहे हो? ग्रह आपको परेशान नहीं कर रहे आपको?
मेरी टाइम भी फ्री इतना एंडेवर कर रहे हैं पर रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा है, बहुत ग्रह खराब है ना, बहुत डिले हो रहा है.
How many of you regularly visit astrologer? Nobody. Okay. Nobody. So it is a fact, it's a science. No? It is, right? So grahas are affecting you or not?
It's trying to teach you something. It is diagnostic report, I would call it.
Diagnostic report. That's what they call, is it?
Not the cause.
No, why not? So cancer is the cause of your, the bodily ailment, right?
Cancer is the cell which is causing you trouble. Get to know by a diagnostic report.
Right.
Similarly, through astrology, get to know what cells are troubling you.
So that's a cause, right?
Cells.
So sorry.
No, I mean, that is your own karma, which are being answered by. So,
Okay, so
the planet is like.
that is next. That is next. That is next. That is next. Go ahead. What is the next?
My past work.
My past work is neither the cause of my suffering or
Happy.
happiness.
And last is time.
Time. काल, समय खराब चल रहा है. अगर आप मेरे से 10 साल पहले आते थे ना, मेरा क्या बिजनेस था, क्या समय था मेरा, अभी समय खराब हो गया है. Everything is against me. So saying none of these 6 things, and the fusion verses, it gives a beautiful example. Beautiful example. I loved it. Avanti Brahmana says कि अगर आप खाते खाते अपनी टंग को बाइट कर लिया, it happens. अगर आपने अपनी टंग को बाइट कर लिया तो आप किसको गाली दोगे? दांत को निकाल दोगे? किसने दांत में क्या निकाल देता हूँ दांत को, मैं अभी वाला इतना जोर से काटा मैं तो।
तो भी इसने गाली दिया। That's what we talk to us.
Beautiful example, isn't it? Teeth is yours, tongue is yours. If your own body parts are fighting with each other, whom would you blame? Whom would you blame? It's exactly the same thing that Avanti Brahmana is trying to teach. Okay, so all these people, now let's say if somebody is trying to eat and somebody can pass, can you imagine, is it not suffering? So somebody said a very interesting thing, okay, that will solve this mystery. Right now you're maybe nodding your head, but it is in one sense not acceptable, right? So somebody said pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Try to understand this. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. जो आपके जीवन में पेन आने वाला है वो किसी आदमी की वजह से आ सकता है, आपके पास्ट कर्म की वजह से आ सकता है, आपकी ग्रह की वजह से भी आपको पेनफुल सिचुएशन आ सकता है. अभी उसके अंदर इफ यू वांट टू रिमेन हैप्पी और सैड, दैट इज योर चॉइस. Whether you are suffering because of that, that is your choice. And that choice comes from whom? Mind.
Right.
Mind is the one which makes the hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. That is what it is. So ultimately, after when it further goes, and it is said that follows to this, I highly recommend everybody that go and read this. We will share the link of that 11th canto 23rd chapter. It is Krishna himself says, whoever reads this entire episode of Avanti Brahmana, they will never be morose in their life. Their mind will be absolutely under control. They will stabilize. So ultimately, what mind does, the biggest problem with the mind is mind actually helps you identify with what you are not. I repeat, mind helps you to identify with something that you are not. And that is nothing but a false ego. That is the biggest problem. So he explains, Avanti Brahmana, one by one, that why the people are not the cause of my suffering. Because people is doing something to me. I am not this body anyways. So they are throwing stones at whom? To this body. They are not throwing the stones at the soul and the spirit soul. So none of the people, मेरा कोई कुछ बिगाड़ नहीं सकता है. That is a Socrates or some philosopher, right? They asked him, like, to be poisoned. He said, catch me first, then give me the poison, na. बोलते तू मेरे सामने तो है, कहाँ पे? बोलता है, I am not this body only. You guys are not understanding. You haven't caught me. You have just caught my body because he was absolutely spiritually realized. Right? So is Avanti Brahmana. He was absolutely spiritually realized. He said, these people, no matter what you do, it doesn't matter to me at all. Right? The second thing is demigods. Actually, it is said that every part of your body is being controlled by the demigod. Every part of your body. आपकी जो there's a something called a Nini who is actually managing the आपकी पलके जो ये होती है ना, झपकती है, उसके कारण ये है. इसके लिए वो जो हम एक पलक जो झपकती है उसको क्या बोलते हैं हम लोग? निमेश. सो हर एक बॉडी पार्ट का कौन है इंचार्ज? अभी कहीं पे आपका गड़बड़ हो गया बॉडी पार्ट में तो हम लोग बोलेंगे ना कि डेमिगॉड इज इंचार्ज. Doesn't matter whatever happens to this body. I'm not this body anyways. Right? Then grahas are doing what? They're giving all kinds of different results. But the more you are going to have, it is said that the more wealth it actually creates more problem. Prabhu, please let me have all the problems. I don't mind. Right? That is what it is. It takes a realization An ignorant person can say like this, yes, let me have all these things, no problem. But when it comes, you realize that how difficult it is. If you are spiritually realized, right? Then your the past karma happens by the body only. The soul did not do the karma, right? Because of your mind desired a lot of things and you end up doing the things and those things came to you to suffer from that angle. So what is the remedy? That one has to identify who you are. And that is what I asked, that what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita? The Bhagavad Gita helps you to identify who you are. And once you identify yourself with who you are, then all the problems of this world will be cease to exist. It will become very, very negligible for you. But it's a long, long way to go. It is not that, आज हम लोगों ने सुना कल से हम लोग realize हो गए नहीं. That is why practice is required, and that is why Vairagya is required. Vairagya means what? Choose your right environment. Give up your wrong environment. Choose the right association. Practice means what? Chant the holy names. Bring back your mind wherever it is wandering. Bring back under your control. That is what is Krishna saying. So I'll just read the translation of the 36th verse in order to save some time, because we are supposed to cover till then. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is very difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Right? So mind control, and that is what Avanti Brahmana is also saying. If your mind is under your control, you have won the battle. But if your mind is not in your control, no matter what you have, no matter what you have of this world, you will be a loser. No matter what you have. But if you have your mind control, अगर आपके पास कुछ भी नहीं रहेगा ना, like this Avanti Brahmana, when he had once upon a time everything, but he was miserable. But now he has nothing, he is blissful. Can you imagine the contrast? This is what Bhagavad Gita has to offer. Bhagavad Gita has to offer so high. It's like a कोहिनूर डायमंड देने को रेडी है भगवत गीता, और हम लोग क्या ढूंढ रहे हैं? अमेरिकन डायमंड ढूंढ रहे हैं. That is what it is. So let us take this Bhagavad Gita very seriously. Let us chant the holy names very, very seriously, because it has the potency. Now coming back to the point of hearing about Krishna, and we'll conclude with this. Why hearing about Krishna is the solution? Chanting is nothing about hearing about Krishna only in one sense, right? When we are doing Bhagavad Gita, it's nothing about hearing about Krishna only. When we do Srimad Bhagavatam, it's about hearing about Krishna. Why we are hearing about Krishna? And why hearing again and again is helping? Prabhupada says, compares this with the eating also. Like, when you read about Krishna, when you hear about Krishna, you will feel satisfied and you will feel nourished. Like how you eat food. So why hearing about Krishna will help you? What happens when you hear about somebody? Okay, have you heard about anybody here? I'm not talking about your relatives and things like that. I'm talking about celebrities. Have you heard about celebrities? There are so many magazines talks about celebrities. Yes or no? There is a sports star. There is for a film star के लिए film fair है, ये है, वो है, फलाना ढिकना, कितना सारा magazines है. For a business के लिए कितना सारा magazines which talks about all these business cycles, right? There are so many videos about let's do a pick it to this film star's home or this and that, and in this personal life and things like that. Anybody putting a video, let's peek into the life of Rastor and Das. Nobody cares, right? Because I'm nobody. But people care if somebody is celebrity. So what happens when you start hearing about them?
Like,
You start liking it. See, people did not develop people does not become a fan just like that. Right? They become more and more stronger fan by hearing about them. Oh, ये बच्चा ऐसा करता है. Oh, he's like this. He does so much of charity. He has this, he has that. Right? Like that you develop love, right? Similarly, same process. आपको सिर्फ focus change करना है. From that celebrity, you have to just put Krishna in that. That's it. So what will happen? You will develop attraction for Krishna. You will develop love for Krishna by hearing more and more about him. Right? when we hear that, जब भी वो इतने छोटे बालक थे, उतना इतने वेश में आके उतना जहर पिलाना चाहते थे, पर फिर भी भगवान ने क्या किया, उनको भगवत धाम भेज दिया। देखो कितने बड़े दयालु है भगवान। हाँ, जब भी रुक्मणी मैया ने बोला कि मुझे बचाओ यहाँ से, तो भगवान खुद रणछोड़ होने को रेडी हो गए। जरासंध उसको चैलेंज करने आया, भगवान ने बोला कि नहीं, मेरा डिवोटी वहां पे वेट करना है, आई हैव टू गो। चाहे तुम मुझे रणछोड़ बोलो, चाहे कुछ भी बोलो, किरण से भाग गया। Right? That is a quality of Krishna. So like that, when you know more and more about it, it's really amazing. I'm telling you, start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It will just nourishes your heart like anything. We are reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. We are reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the evening. When you read through this, you will come to know about so many amazing things. We are going to write now about the Dhruva Maharaj's episode, and in that a description of given of Dhruva Maharaj and how Lord Krishna comes or the Lord Vishnu gives him the darshan. It is so fantastic episode. You develop so much love for the Lord and his devotees. It is so amazing. So by doing that, what will happen? When you develop love for Krishna, then Krishna will give you the strength to control the mind. You cannot control the mind on your own. That is what Prabhupada is trying to tell. If you want to control the mind, the only Krishna can help. And when you get attached to Krishna, automatically your mind will be under control. You don't have to do anything. Because you will do activities which will be loved by Krishna. That is what things is all about. It's very simple process, but it is not easy. That is why we need the association. When we come together, it becomes easy. अभी हम लोग बाहर चले जाएंगे, again we get tempted to lot many things, right? That is why we need to come again and again in the association of the devotees and help each other. Hear about Krishna. Every day try to hear something. We put again the link of the ISKCON Desire. There are so many lectures. कोई भी lecture चालू कर दो. It is said that Srimad Bhagavatam is like a sugar candy. गन्ने का ये है, आप किधर से भी चबाओ मीठा ही निकलेगा। ऐसा नहीं कि आगे से खाओ तो कम मीठा है, पीछे से खाओ तो कम मीठा है, ऐसा नहीं कुछ। From wherever you buy it, it's just the pure nectar. Okay? So please hear about Krishna every day. Something. And believe me, slowly but surely you will start developing the love for Krishna, and that will help you to control the mind. You cannot control the mind on your own. बहुत difficult है. Arjuna says, Baba, हम कौन खेत की मूली है? Arjuna says, it is difficult to control them. That I cannot. Please help me. Right? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or comments, we'll take it during the Prasadam time because it's late. Sorry about that. We went a little overboard. Not deserved.